Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Sales. I'm Ashley Early,
And I'm Casey Jones.
and we're recording this episode, full transparency, on Monday, March 16th. And we're recording this a little bit out of order and a little bit last minute for us because the world's shifted quite a bit the past week or two, depending on where you are. It could be a month or two. And it felt callous not to address the hardship that a lot of people are dealing with as COVID-19 takes full effect and spreads and impacts not just our daily lives, but our jobs as well. Rather than talking specifically about the virus itself, what we wanted to do was keep focused on the things that we can control, because one of the things I know I have dealt with, especially because while I'm not in a hot spot, severely affected area, pretty much everyone I care about is. Cases in Portland, which isn't that bad yet, but is Seattle adjacent, and my entire family is in Seattle. Both of my parents are in high-risk categories. My sister lives in the middle of a hot zone. All of my cousins and everything are up there. And it's really difficult to sit down at my computer in my nice house where it's pretty easy to self-isolate and work from home like I have been for a year or two, and not pretend the world's not kind of on fire. And it's made the past couple weeks of work, while they've been incredibly busy and incredibly productive and fruitful, emotionally exhausting. And so what we were trying to figure out, what we want to talk about today, what we came down to was we wanted to acknowledge what's going on, but talk about something that's going to be helpful to sales professionals, regardless of whether or not the world is kind of on fire, and regardless of your opinion on whether or not the world is on fire. And that's, how do you stay focused and stay productive when there are big, scary things going on? And this is something that I know I've dealt with several times at work. I've had family members who have had major health crises while I was at work. I've literally gotten a call that my husband was in a motorcycle accident in the middle of a work day. I've had, my dog almost dying while I was at work, or being in surgery and figuring these things out, and being stressed about money, being stressed about health, being stressed about big, scary things. And when you're dealing with all these big, scary things, it can make picking up the phone and talking to some snotty admin really infuriating. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to handle that.
Yep, because there's absolutely no getting around it. You are going to go through these experiences. I think it's a different thing when you're the only one going through it and when you're surrounded by a lot of other people going through it. And so I just want to make it clear that, you know, I spent many an afternoon while I was going through my divorce sobbing in the stairwell of my office building. But there's something really different about this experience because we're all going through it. And frankly, on the one hand, it makes it scarier and harder because you go onto social media and it's easy to get caught up in the frenzy of what is going on and what everyone is saying. But I think the upside is that we are all going through this together. And there's been some really wonderful stories of people caring for one another and helping for one another. And I think so before we get into how do you handle it yourself, I do really want to encourage everybody that's listening to reach out to the people you care about and the people you love. See if you can find ways to make their lives a little bit easier. I think we know so many people that are grieving lost experiences and opportunities. I have a friend whose very good friend just had to cancel her wedding. We know people that are canceling vacations. We know people that are losing out on job opportunities.
I have a friend who was supposed to accept a leadership position in England. Visa and everything was all squared to go, and she got the call this week that it's on hold indefinitely, and they will probably have to hire internally because they can't wait for her and these whole travel sanctions and everything. I have another friend whose fiance, he's a UK citizen, and They got engaged a few months ago. He finally got his visa approved after 2 interviews, finally got his visa approved last Thursday. And Friday morning, they announced the travel ban. So they are literally going to be separated by an ocean, and they don't know for how long.
Yeah.
And it's personal, it's professional, it's everything. And everybody's got a story.
Yeah. And so we'll talk about how you take care of you, but have a little extra patience, have a little extra compassion, reach out to the people that you love, leverage technology in amazing ways. Like I've got friends that are doing a Zoom happy hour, a virtual happy hour with all of their friends, which I think is incredible.
Oh, I'm stealing that.
My
mother has requested a virtual board game night. She specifically asked if she could use my professional Zoom license and we could have a virtual board game. My response was, great, you might have to buy me one.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also, I've been using a lot of Marco Polo with my girlfriends. I don't know if any of you use this. It's an amazing app. It's super, super fun. And we're in group chats. Like it's incredible. So leverage technology to stay just a little bit more connected. And
I think something there worth mentioning is leverage technology to stay connected, not to browse social media.
Exactly. Yes.
That's something I've learned, at least, is I need to stay off the Twitter during the day.
Yes. Yes. Or frankly, right before bed, because then I do not sleep well. But so let's get into a couple of suggestions or ideas of how you can stay focused on work, how you can keep getting done what you need to get done, and stay, relatively sane while we all go through this. So Ashley, what's something that you suggest?
Well, the first thing I suggest is actually something you keep reminding me of, especially as we're building this podcast. My tendency is to think big picture. I'm very goal oriented. I want to get to the big shiny thing at the end. And working with you this past year, we're almost at a year, which is terrifying. You keep reminding me, break it down into bite-sized chunks, break it down into steps, little things, build out that super detailed to-do list and just knock it down one at a time, because the big shiny things are going to be fewer and farther between. So focus on those little wins. So that's become a huge thing for me when it comes to focus, because then it's not thinking, it takes the thought out of what am I doing. It's, I've got my list. I know I can do this, and then I know I can do that, and then I know I can do that. So it's those little bite-sized chunks. And as I do one, it's that little endorphin hit of I did something. Yeah. I can't fix that my dad's in isolation up in Seattle. I can make my 5 calls. I can send my emails. I can send out that statement of work. I can go through my list, and then I can get the big hit at the end of the day of I did something today. Not just these little things, but all the big things.
Yeah. And I think that that's particularly good advice in this situation, because there's too much uncertainty for the big things. We don't know how things are going to shake out. So really focusing on the little steps that we can take every single day, right? Like you're not going to solve your father's isolation in Seattle problem, but you can solve, I don't know, sending him a package of surgical gloves so that when an Amazon package arrives at his house, he doesn't have to, get his hands all over it, or sending him a Marco Polo video. Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the little things you can do? Because we right now are not in a position to solve the big things. I love that. So one of my biggest recommendations, and I talk about this all the time anyway, is develop a routine that really serves you. And for now, it's also develop a routine that you stick to that is routinized self-care, right? So a lot of us are working from home, maybe for the first time. I mean, I've worked from home a lot, but I love going into the office, and it's really tempting, and it's really easy to just sit on your butt all day and not do anything, or eat kind of crappy food at home. Figure out, you want to take a walk every single day. Figure out what day you do it or what time you do it. for me with all of this, it's so stressful. I need to make sure I meditate every morning. It just has to happen.
Yeah.
All of these little things that can really add up to make us a lot healthier and happier as we go through this.
I can't stress enough. I have landed in the hospital twice during stressful situations because I failed to do this. You can push hard. You can push harder than you probably think you can, but you will break. And the last thing you need right now is to cause everyone else stress around you because you push too hard. So for me, it's less about meditation. For me, it's this probably is oversharing slightly. I forget to eat. I literally just get so stressed, I lose my appetite. And I just keep going and I keep going and I keep going. So I have to schedule in time to eat when I get stressed. And I have to have food that's easy to, it's like, I go on Frozens. It's horrible, but it works. I go on my Frozens. I know they're my freezer. I know they can have them ready in 5 minutes. That way I can make sure I've got that self-care. So it's the physical as well as the mental. Just making sure you've got that routine. Like I've got it blocked in my calendar, 30 minutes. I get out of this room and I go downstairs and I eat my lunch, usually while looking at my phone and continuing to work, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
At least the food's getting in me, and there's the physical, there's the mental. And we did a whole episode recently on the importance of routine. It's do everything that we were talking about with work. Just make sure you have even stronger presence and emphasis on that self-care.
Yeah. And I think being self-aware to catch when you're doing something that isn't serving you. So
Yeah.
I think almost everybody I know has come to the same conclusion that we've already just mentioned, is like, oh, I need to control how much I'm reading social media because it can be really tempting to get caught up in a very stressful cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. It can stress you out. And that brings up another tip that I have, which is as much as you can, try and direct your mental energy onto things that are actually in your control. So you've got your to-do list, you've got a routine that serves you. You can't control the chaos around you. You can control getting up. You can control doing your hair. You can control whether or not you want to wear fuzzy slippers in the office or into your home office, or you want to wear sweatpants. You can control if you want to put on a cute skirt. You can control what you surround yourself with and what you choose to expose yourself to or not to expose yourself to. Those little choices of what you can control are at the core of, interestingly enough, they actually are at the core of a lot of mental illnesses too. A lot of mental illnesses come from a desire to control something in a seemingly uncontrollable world. So paying attention to that, focusing on those things when you feel yourself or sense yourself spiraling into that, oh, what about this, and the what ifs, and the oh goodness, and the what's coming, what's going on right now, what's one thing I can do, and refocusing on that. So for me, it turns down to a lot of, like you said, like I can't fix my dad. I can video chat him, make sure he's not going stir crazy.
Yeah.
I can ping a friend in the neighborhood who I know has an elderly parent and say, hey, has he had his shopping done? I have to go do some shopping tomorrow. Does he need me to pick up anything while I'm out? I can control these things. I can't fix dad, but I can fix other things. And when I'm at work, same thing. I can't control that that several of my clients are involved in the medical industry. But I can control how aggressive my prospecting is to make sure that my income doesn't take a hit while being respectful and stuff like that. It's keeping that eye in every part of your life on, okay, what is actually in my control and what isn't. So.
Yeah, I think that's key.
And that's a constant process. That's something I'm doing like probably 50 times a day. That's not like a once a day thing for me, at least.
Oh, yeah. No. And I think that's the other really good reminder, right? Like this is hard and it's overwhelming. Yeah. And so over and over again, you're going to catch yourself getting off track, and that's okay.
Yes.
You just bring yourself back. That's one reason why I do like meditation, is you learn that that's just kind of how life works. You are always going to be getting off track, and it's okay. You just catch yourself and you bring yourself back. And I think, the last thing that we kind of want to share is also recognize when you need to just either take a break from what you're doing or just feel the feels.
Yes.
This is going to be hard, and we're all going to need to have kind of our emotional releases. If you need a good cry, just watch an episode of Queer Eye. It'll get it out for you.
Yep.
You know,
Go hit some old movies on Netflix.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of Titanic every time. I can't.
Yeah.
That's a good 2 hours.
I mean, I don't know. It might be a little bit much of a disaster at this point, but like, I do think
it feels right for me.
Yeah. You know what? And you got to listen to yourself, because we are gonna need those moments. Just like I mentioned, you know, when I was going through my divorce, I would catch myself at my desk and I would go to the stairwell and I would sob on the stairs. And like, I needed it. And like, sometimes you're just going to need that, and that's okay. Don't try to stuff it all down.
Yes.
Give yourself time to grieve and to freak out a little bit, and be patient when you see that other people are taking the time to do that for themselves.
And understand, if you see someone in this raw state, they are that. It's a raw state and it has nothing to do with you. And I'll say this, for me, I'm not feeling sad. For me, it's angry and anxious, like just worrying. Yeah. So it's, you know, and full credit, I was watching Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and he did a great thing, which is totally spot on. He talked about everyone gets 30 seconds, and he put a timer up on the screens. You get 30 seconds to feel bad about this. And he went on a 30-second rant about his team, Liverpool Football Club, is apparently 2 games away from winning the FA Cup or something. I apologize to all the football soccer fans out there. I don't know much about this, but apparently they're 2 games away from winning the cup, and the season's canceled, so there's not going to be a cup this year probably. And so he goes on this rant about, I've waited my whole life to see them win the cup, and now they're only 2 games away. You could just give it to them anyway. Why won't you do it? Okay, no, I'm fine. I understand. It's good. Whatever you're feeling is okay. You can be angry. You can be scared. You can be sad. You can be all of the things at once. This is going to cause stuff, and that's okay. But the worst thing you can do is shove it down and keep pushing and hold yourself to an unrealistic standard, because I guarantee you it will come out in the one place you don't want it to come out. It'll come out in a one-on-one with your boss. It'll come out on a call with a client where you'll get snappier than you mean to. It'll come out at your significant other. You'll say something that'll hurt someone in a way that you don't intend. So acknowledging and being aware and making sure you've got that space to feel the feels. Whether it's, and Casey was even telling about this morning. I mentioned yesterday I got a Peloton, and I went on for a Peloton ride, and I got way more emotional than I expected for a bike ride. And I mean, you were telling me that apparently that's really common with intense physical exertion to get very deeply emotional. So maybe that's something I'm gonna have to do more often.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is a real phenomenon of, you do something physically extremely tough, and especially if you're going through something tough personally, and it just releases the floodgates of hormones and emotions as a result. And we all are going to need this right now, and that's okay.
And I'll say this too, those of us that, I'm going to acknowledge the elephant in the room here, those of us that have pets too, like my dog has been with me nonstop, and sometimes I'll just pick up like, I just need Henry cuddles right now. And I know your girl back there clearly has got some separation anxiety going on. She wants her mommy. And that's okay. It's okay to want these things and to take care of yourself and to say, no, the dog is mine right now. I need to snuggle with my puppy for a minute, or my cat, or my parrot, or I even know someone who has a snake. That's their thing. And these are good things.
And that's the thing. That's the thing also, like, right? Like, figure out what you need and be okay with that. And also find ways to sort of celebrate. The other thing that I loved, like, I had a friend who was talking about how she was so disappointed because she just got these really fabulous new shoes in the mail, and she has nowhere to wear them. And this amazing thread on Twitter came out in response, where everyone was like, I think we need to have like an Instagram, like, fashion show party where we can all rock the stuff that we really want to wear in public. And so, like, recognize that there are ways to kind of make the most of this and to find little ways to celebrate, whether it's virtual happy hours or snuggling our puppies, you know. And I keep seeing this meme of like, our grandparents were asked to go to World War II to fight the Nazis. We are asked to stay at home and Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scary things happening, but
we got this.
We got this and we can do it. And truly, if there's anything that we can do for you, we're looking at all of the different ways that we can help our sales community kind of get through this and feel a sense of community and feel a sense of camaraderie while we're all sequestered at home. And please let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We've got some cool things we're talking about, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Just along that line, in case you brought this up at the very beginning, like we gave some ideas of things that you can do to help yourself focus, but this is isolation without isolation.
Yeah.
If you're feeling isolated, reach out. There are people everywhere who are feeling the same way you do. We are not alone.
We are not alone.
And if you don't know who to reach out to, some of you have already reached out to us, and every single time we get a note from anyone who listens to the show, it makes my day every single time.
It makes both of our day, and
it does, and we pass them back and forth.
We share screenshots and we gush over how lucky we are, and it means the world to us.
So thank you to those of you who have reached out. Don't forget, we have the Bravado community. We're going to be way more active in there in coming weeks, have some cool stuff planned. Lots of things coming, but you are not alone, and it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to figure it out as we go. We're all doing that.
Yep.
And with that, thank you for listening to another episode of The Other Side of Sales. I'm going to do a slightly different sign off this time. Obviously, please follow us on the social, but please wash your hands. Take social distancing seriously. We're going to put some articles in the show notes here around the importance of it, backed by science, and take care of yourself out there.
Absolutely. Be safe.
Bye, guys.